Clock is ticking with less than 7 hours now until the deadline to avoid a government shutdown.
While Congress is running down to the wire trying to hammer out a compromise, federal agencies are preparing to close up shop. Joining us live from Washington, D.C. tonight, Congressmen Sullivan and Boren. Now, Representative Sullivan, Oklahomans really want to know how this shutdown is going to affect our state. I know one issue is with potential home buyers. They could actually see their home loans fall through, right?
Well, I can't really hear that well right now. I did hear how this government shutdown would affect Oklahomans. It would have a negative impact on Oklahomans some, but also it would have a positive impact too. We need to make sure that we reduce the size of this government. We need to make sure that we have cuts that are significant. We want them to be very significant. You know, the American people spoke very loudly in the last election that they want to see Washington live within its means, and we're spending too much here. We're simply spending more than we take in, and it needs to stop.
Now, Congressman Boren, what's the next step? We've only got hours left. Are they going to come up with a compromise in time?
I'm very hopeful. I think we're very close. Both Harry Reid and Speaker Boehner, even though they've had dueling press conferences, I think the numbers, they're very close, maybe $1 or $2 billion off. There's some policy writers that are out there that they're negotiating. But I'm hopeful both John Sullivan and I will be voting on something later this evening. If not, hopefully by the end of the weekend that we'll have a package that, as John mentioned, will reduce spending, will cut spending, but at the same time we can have those benefits for our soldiers, for our retirees, and all those folks at home that are counting on these sorts of benefits to make their daily lives easier.
Now, as a Republican and a Democrat together, the Oklahoma delegation is often known for getting along. What suggestion do you two have for the other lawmakers as they try to work their way through this budget crisis?
What you say?
John can't really hear about it. I'll tell you what John would say. I'm going to answer for him. I think that they should, you know, John Boehner and Harry Reid should look at the example of the Oklahoma delegation. You've got a Republican and a Democrat standing here. We don't vote the same every time. You know, John's a very conservative Republican. I consider myself a conservative Democrat. But we work together. There are some things that you fight over, you fall on the sword over, and there are some things that you work out and move on. I think right now we don't need a shutdown. I think it would be a mistake. But we can cut some spending. We can do some things that, as John mentioned, people want us to do. But we've got to put aside our partisan differences and come together because more than anything, people just want the government to work. They want it efficient, and they do want it smaller.
Congressman Sullivan, Congressman Boren encouraged Congressman Sullivan to step in with his response, if you would. We'll work together here.
Step in.
What'd you say?
She basically said, how can the two leaders of both parties work together to avert this shutdown?
Well, like Dan was saying, we really do need to work together. This is time for us to be grown-ups and do the right thing. We want to avoid a government shutdown. We want to reduce spending here in Washington, D.C. And for our two leaders and the president as well, they need to agree. And they need to work in a bipartisan way. That's what's going to yield the best results for the American people if we work together in a bipartisan way and get things done that truly are meaningful, that we get a control of this deficit that we have, and we face a mountain of debt. And we've got to start working towards that. And we need to get this thing done right now so we can start talking about the bigger picture of cutting trillions of dollars like Paul Ryan's plan out there.
All right, Congressman, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate your time for talking with us tonight. We'll wait and see what happens this evening.